Shalom, peace and blessings be multiplied amongst all the saints. I'm Priesthood are done bringing forth today's live Shabbat class in the midst of this feast of unleavened bread. We have just finished up the fourth day, and now we're going into the fifth day of the feast. And we're continuing on with the series that we talked about, the return of the Messiah. When you start to see these things, this depiction of the Messiah, you know that the return of the Messiah is at hand. It is right here. It is tangible. It is visible. It may not be what everybody is looking for, but this is the beginning stages of it. The kingdom of heaven comes not by observation. It's coming by these actions that are being done on earth as it is in heaven. And we start showing that in Revelation 1. So many of us have taken this to say that Christ was a black man. And John getting all these great, magnificent visions, he's not relegated to Christ is black. Priest Rasheen brought out something excellent yesterday. How Daniel saw the same angel or a similar angel, another angel with similar features to the Messiah. They said his torso was as beryl. Once again, if this is about color, who you know who's green? I don't know one unless he's sick and about to die. People are not green or blue. The Messiah is not burnt brass because he's black. He was burnt brass because he embodies the brazen altar upon which we offer burnt offerings, peace offerings, sin, trespass offerings, and even the memorial of the tithe offerings. This is what Revelation 1 is about. It's depicting the royal priesthood that the Messiah embodies. He is the chieftain of the priesthood. He is the high priest forever. Let's go to Revelation 1, and we'll read through that again.
Revelations 1 and 12.
And also, I should introduce my readers. I'm joined by Priest Kabaria. And on my right, I'm joined by AP Hezekiel coming all the way from Trinidad to keep the feast. All praises. So let's go ahead and grab Revelation 1, pick up in the 12th verse, as we recap on this, this depiction, quote unquote, of the Messiah.
And I turned to see the voice that spake with me. And being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
These golden candlesticks are a sign that John was taken up into the sanctuary. And what goes on in the sanctuary? Sacrifices. The priests are there. We show that in the class about the finale of Angels and Demons. And you had the seraphims in the outer court, and you had the cherubim dressing the golden altar in the sanctuary under the hands of Gabriel, the archangel. Let's read on.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Now, we always skip over this part. We always like to go straight to the 14th verse. His hair like wool, his eyes as fire, his feet as burnt brass. But this is what John saw first. He first saw his garment and the apparel that he had on. That was more important than the rest of the stuff. I don't say more important. They all go hand in hand with one another. But this was the first thing that John saw was his garment. Let's read on.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow.
And brothers like to focus on this. See who got woolly hair? See, he was black, because black people got woolly hair. Let's read on.
And his eyes were the flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace.
See, what color is burnt brass, brother? What color is burnt brass? It's black, ain't he? Black. Read on.
And they say his eyes were the flame of fire because he liked to drink wine.
Yeah. And he was angry with you, too. He drank wine and got angry. Sound like a drunkard to me. Don't sound like the Messiah. Let's read on.
And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were the flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sounds of many waters.
See, black people, they got deep voices. Messiah had a deep voice because he's black. This is not what it's talking about at all. And we disprove that, and I'll be willing throughout this feast, we will continue to disprove that. Priest Uriah brought out the voice of many waters, being the baptism, the cleansing, the washing that we speak in this new covenant. Not just he's got a deep voice just because he's a black man. Priest Rashim showed the fine brass as it was burnt in fire, being the brazen altar that contained the fire of the sacrifice. I don't know if he covered this, but that fire would never, ever, ever go out. You don't put out that fire. So that brass is getting burnt every single day. It is going to get charred. The outside might look polished, but the inside is burnt up because the fire always was going on that brazen altar. 24 hours a day, just like David set it up. Priest Johanna went through the eyes of fire. It wasn't because he was drinking wine. He was getting pissed. It's because he embodied the fire that was on the brazen altar. The smoke, or the fire to make the smoke of the offering unto Abba Yahweh. This is what it was talking about. It is all regarding the oblations. And Abba willing, we're going to talk about a few more things in the depiction of the Messiah. And Abba willing, Priest Gabari is going to be bringing out the hair of wool, showing it's not about him having a black hair texture. This is not what it's about. Now, once again, irrefutably, the Messiah came on this earth as a black man. That is not in question, as we said. That is something clear. But black, white, Asian, whatever, that has no bearing in the spirit. That is something for earthly, carnal men. So the Messiah in spirit, he's not relegated to these things. Just like we call the spirit of wisdom female in the Old Testament and then male in the New Testament. And then people get confused. Which one is it? Is it male or female? It's neither, brother. There is no male or female in spirit. The Holy Spirit, she carries on these characteristics of a female. So us as earthly people, we need something to kind of understand it better. So we characterize her as female. But there is no gender in spirit. Now, don't get it twisted. You know, we ain't waving no purple flag or rainbow flag. But in spirit, it's not relegated to the things that are here on the earth in flesh. So the Messiah goes beyond skin color and tone and all that. Yes, indeed, he came down earth as a black man. I heard somebody trying to refute that. I was looking into that. Vladimir Putin talking about the Russian icon. I haven't confirmed it, yeah or nay, but in researching, I saw some dude online talking about you got to be stupid to think the Messiah was black. You got Anatolian DNA and X, Y, and Z. And dude, what are you talking about? You don't make any sense. You got to be stupid to believe that. And he was trying to say the Egyptians too. The ancient Egyptians, they were Caucasian-looking people. And, I guess there's a doctrine that the Nubians, they came later, or the Sudanese, they came later. And then they started taking over. So all those hieroglyphs from the beginning of days with black people on it, that was them. That was after the white people had gotten taken over. And think about it. Noah, how did he produce black offspring if he himself was not black? Where did black people come from then? You believe the curse of Ham? The curse of Ham is fake. It was the curse on Canaan. Come on. Only one of Ham's sons.
That's right.
So how is it that Ham produced all black people when only Canaan got cursed? All right, not Ham, just Canaan, just specifically Canaan. So you had Cush, you got Put, you got all of them also. Where all these black people come from, it just Canaan got cursed. And secondly, how can you produce a black person if you got no melanin? You can lose melanin, but you can't produce it. It won't come out of nowhere. So it's the opposite. People without melanin came from people with it. It doesn't make sense to say the Messiah was anything other than black when he came on the earth. But what's more important is what he embodies in spirit. In spirit, black and white, there is none of that. There's only angels, and now we also see the demons as well. But that is a topic from before. Go and watch those videos if you haven't. Now, read the 13th verse again, priest, and then AP Hezekiah. We're going to go to Ezekiel, Exodus 28, pick up in the first verse.
Revelations 1 and 13. And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
So as we mentioned, this is the first thing John saw when he saw the Messiah. He saw his garment, a garment down to the foot, girt about the paps with a golden girdle. And what do brothers break this down as when they want to say Christ is black? Just, he had nice drip?
Golden girdle.
He was fly? No, there is something specific about what the Messiah was wearing. And we'll see that in Exodus 28, and we'll pick up in the first verse, AP Ezekiel.
And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest office, even Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for the glory and for beauty.
All right, so now we see the priests are given holy garments, beautiful, glorious garments that the priest would have with which to minister unto Abba. Let's read on.
And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest office.
So they needed these garments to be consecrated. He didn't consecrate them with the regular clothes on. He consecrated them after making these priest garments and putting them upon Aaron and cleansing them, as we went through in the intro to Johanna's class about the eyes of fire. We talked about that consecration of the priest. Let's read on. Let's look at some of the details of this priest garment.
And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and a broidered coat, a mitre, and a girdle.
An ephod, a breastplate, a robe, and a girdle. All these things were emblematic of the priest garment. The long garment down to the foot that the Messiah wore is his priest garment. That girdle is connected to this ephod and the breastplate that we're going to talk about, all the way from his waist up to his chest. It is a chest piece that he was wearing, embodying the priesthood. Everything we're seeing is regarding priesthood and oblations and nothing else. If you are falling for the low-hanging fruit of he's a black man, it's just that. It's low-hanging fruit. It's ready to rot. Go up to the top, to the cream of the crop, where nobody else is reaching. The Messiah is wearing the priest garment. And Aaron, by Moses, was given instruction to wear the same thing. We can understand what the Messiah was wearing when we see what Aaron was wearing. Let's read on.
And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office.
This is how they minister in the priest's office, and it's the same thing with the Messiah, the Prince, with Yahushua, to minister in the priest office. Let's read on.
And they shall take gold, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen.
So you take gold to make that girdle. Same thing as we saw in in Revelations. He had a golden girdle. We're going to see that as we continue on. See the structure of this garment. Let's read on.
If I can say something real
go ahead,
quick,
priest.
You know, we're sitting here reading the description of what they wore, and I won't mention any names, but Billy Carson swears that the priest wore a hazmat suit in order to touch the Ark of the Covenant. And he also teaches that he believes that Moses stole the Ark of the Covenant from the Egyptians. Madness. The scriptures is telling you here, no hazmat suit, Billy. But go ahead. I thought I had to bring that out.
Man, insane.
Yeah,
a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Way back in the year 1,500, they had hazmat suits. Come on now, because they're saying it's radioactive. That's why the Philistines were getting sick. Or not the Philistines were getting sick. Doesn't make sense. You're taking the power away from Abba Yahweh when you do that. It was the Most High who smote the Philistines when they took the Ark of the Covenant. It wasn't because, it was radioactive. Because the Most High came down with some fire, sent his angel and said, tighten them up. Show them I'm not dwelling with you. I've made a covenant with Israel. You better send that back to them. So let's read on and see this hazmat suit that we're looking at.
And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen, with cunning work.
All right, so now we see the description of the ephod. Starting off with that. He started here because it was the chiefest of the pieces of the garments. This is what John saw, an ephod. How do we know it was the ephod? Read on.
It shall have 2 shoulder pieces, thereof joined at the 2 edges thereof, and so it shall be joined together. And the curious girdle of the ephod.
So now we see the girdle was connected to the ephod. It is a piece that goes from your chest all the way down to your waist. And it is connected all together. It is, like you said, a chest piece. And you have this ephod and the quote-unquote curious girdle. Why is it curious girdle? It makes you curious? It makes you wonder? Let's read on and finish that verse up.
Which is upon it shall be of the same, according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue, and of purple, and scarlet.
So, go ahead, finish up.
And fine twined linen.
So even the gold, the girdle was made of gold and intertwined with lace of blue, purple, and scarlet. It was a beautiful garment. And here's why it says a curious garment. We won't pull it up, but for those following along in a lexicon, you have the word HOWPriesthood, H2803, HOWPriesthood. And now they translate this as curious. But when you look at it, some of the words, some of the translations of it are to think, to plan, to esteem, or imagine. It was something that they imagined, not that they thought on their own. They went in their chamber of imagery and got this. Where'd they get it from? He went up, and I'll be how I say, you see my high priest right here? You see this in your chamber of imagery, Moses? You see his golden girdle? I need you to go and copy that on earth. It's not a curious girdle. It is an esteemed, very esteemed garment that they saw in their chamber of imagery. They got the pattern from the Spirit, just like David did, just like Moses did with the rest of the tabernacle. He's not just making up this garment on his own. It was greatly designed from the Spirit. This is why it's the quote-unquote curious girdle. It's not curious like it makes you wonder. They got it from the Spirit. And there is nothing else like it on earth. It is so unique that nobody else had a garment like this. All right, let's go back and start looking at this garment, this girdle, and the ephod that's connected to it. Verse 9.
And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and grave on them the names of the children of Israel.
2 onyx stones, double onyx, wink, wink. So they had 2 onyx stones as well on the shoulder pieces. Let's read on.
6 of their names on 1 stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth, with the work of an engraver in stone. Like the engravings of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Most High upon his shoulders for a memorial. And thou shalt make ouches of gold.
All right, so now we're seeing some of the descriptions of the ephod. It was a chest piece with shoulder pieces on it, with the onyx stones and the 12 tribes of Israel engraved upon it, so that Aaron could bear that, be a chieftain over the 12 tribes of Israel. Let's read on.
And 2 chains of pure gold at the ends of written work shalt thou make them, and fasten the written chains to the ouches.
All right, just as a side note, when we think of garments today, who thinks of a garment made of actual gold?
Right.
He's got actual metal, gold in his garment, intertwined in the fabric, and also chains of it supporting it up. You know, it wasn't just supported by iron or something cheap. It was gold that was actually tying it together. What a regal, magnificent garment. Now you see why it's a royal priesthood. This is a pure royal garment for this top priest. Let's read on.
And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod, thou shalt make it of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it.
All right, so now we see with the ephod, you also have the breastplate. All of it being connected with the girdle, the breastplate, the chains, the wreaths. All this is talking about what the Messiah had on, what John saw. He saw the girdle, but we should know, those who understand the priesthood know that girdle is connected to the ephod and the breastplate. The ephod goes on top of the breastplate or within it. These pieces are intertwined and interlinked together. Let's read on.
Foursquare it shall be, being doubled. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. And
All
thou,
right. And if you will get Revelation 21, priest, and we'll start in the first verse, and let's read on. AP Hezekiah.
and thou shalt set it in its settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardis.
So now we see the rows of stone, and we've seen Israelites making their own ephod and their own garments and pictures of this. But what was the purpose of these stones? Let's read on.
A topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row, a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings.
So you wonder why that angel had a chest of beryl. Because he also was wearing this ephod, just like the Messiah was. And now, what is the purpose of these stones? Brothers take that, and we know it's going to say for the 12 tribes of Israel, you do it according to their birth. But what's the significance? Why is it that this is what the children of Israel are embodying? Why is it that the priests had this on according to the children of Israel? Just random stones? And some people like to think these stones give them power.
Yeah.
That was not the case at all. These stones do, in fact, replicate something or resemble something. Let's read that 21st verse.
And the stone shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12, according to their names, like the engravings of a signet. Every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes.
All right, so yes, indeed, each stone was given to its respective tribe. Now, let's go to Revelation 21 and get further understanding on why this was the case. The children of Israel came after heaven was created. They are the ones replicating something. It's not them dictating what is. It's Abba replicating heaven with the children of Israel. And we will see that, Abba willing. Revelation 21:1. Preacher, Kabaria.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Abba Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Abba Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them. And they shall be his people, and Abba himself shall be with them and be their Abba.
All right, jump down to the 9th verse. So we see Jerusalem, New Jerusalem, being presented as a bride to her husband. Now, when women get married, what do? They dress all up. They get them so dolled up. They're wearing all types of jewelry. They're looking the best that they ever looked in their entire life. Now, it's the same with Jerusalem. All this garment, all this glory is for this purpose, for the marriage of the Lamb. And the same thing with husbands. They get dressed up too for the wedding. They look the best they ever look in their life to be brought together for this marriage. Same thing with the Messiah. Let's read on in the 9th verse.
And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the 7 plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, and I will show thee the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the spirit to the great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Abba.
So, as we read in the oblations in the conclusion, the Messiah was taken out of the land of the living. Who shall declare his generation? Nobody. He didn't come on earth bearing forth children. There's even a doctrine of that. Yeah. He got together with Mary, and him and Mary got it on and had some children. What kind of foolish doctrine is that? You don't understand anything. He didn't come on this earth to bring forth a lineage. He had his brethren to do that, his physical brethren from Mary and Joseph. His wife, who is going to produce offspring with, is New Jerusalem, is the children of Israel bringing forth the seed of the Messiah, bringing forth his fruit into the earth. Let's read on.
Having the glory of the heavenly Father, her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like jasper stone, clear as crystal. and had a great wall high, and 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
Now we see 12 gates. And we won't go there, but we also see the same thing in Ezekiel. He saw the same thing. One gate for every tribe of the children of Israel. And for those who are members of the House of Wisdom, you hear it. In this first month, you should hear us entering through the gates of Judah.
Mm-hmm.
Next month, there'll be the gates of Dan, and so on and so forth. You'll hear these different gates in which we go into this holy city. Each tribe was given its own specific gate. But first, it was given to an angel. There were 12 different angels governing over these gates. Read on.
And on the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 great gates, and on the west 3 gates.
So each side, 4 walls of the temple, each one had 3 gates. Multiply 4 by 3, you get 12 for each tribe of the children of Israel. Let's read on.
And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb.
So the 12 apostles became the foundation of this temple of New Jerusalem, according to their tribes as well. Now let's jump down to the 19th verse. Priest Gabaria.
And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper.
The first foundation at the first gate was jasper. What else?
The second, sapphire.
Sapphire. Sounds familiar, right? We just read that earlier. Let's read on.
The third, chalcedony. The fourth, emerald. The fifth, sardux. The sixth, sardis. The seventh, chrysolite. The eighth, beryl. The ninth, topaz. The 10th, a chrysoprase. The 11th, adjacent. The 12th, amethyst.
All right, so now we see these 12 stones at each of the gates. The foundation of the temple. This is what the ephod is about. It is the foundation of Abba's covenant, the foundation of Abba's dwelling place. And in it, the priests give sacrifices. This is what the ephod is about. And brothers are making this, not understanding what they're doing. You just say, this one's Judah. This one is Simeon. But what's the purpose? If you're not focusing on the temple of Abba Yahweh, the foundation of his holy city, and becoming a bride to the Messiah, the Prince, who is wearing and bearing this garment. Let's read on.
21. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls.
Let's jump down to the 24th verse, and then we're going to go back to Exodus 28.
And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it.
And even the nations shall walk in the light of this holy city. They shall walk in through these gates by the authority of that priest that governs over it, bearing that ephod with the foundation of the temple upon it, entering into these gates, bringing forth their wares and their glory. Read on.
And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor unto it.
They bring their glory, whatever their glory is for. If you're the Japanese and you're known for making beautiful machinery, you're over here bringing that into the temple. I know I'm not the best with agriculture. I do have some rice, though. I'm bringing forth the things that I'm glorious at bringing. And all my honor and everything, I'm bringing it into the holy temple. Read on.
And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and the honor of the nations unto it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defileth, neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life.
This is crazy. People still think this is what children of Israel, the nation set of mine. This is talking about the literal nations. Everything on earth shall come in up unto the royal priesthood through the foundation that's graven upon the ephod, the garment of the priest that the Messiah was wearing. He bears up this entire earth, as we're going to talk about, through this priest garment. So let's drop that. Let's go back to Exodus 28 and start continuing on in this breastplate that the Messiah is wearing with the ephod, with the golden girdle that supports it upon his body. Exodus 28 and pick up in the 22nd verse, AP.
And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains at the ends of wroughten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and shalt put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And thou shalt put the 2 wroughten chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wroughten chains thou shalt fasten in the 2 ouches, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. And thou shalt make 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate in the border thereof, which is in the side of the ephod inward. And 2 other rings of gold thou shalt make, and shalt put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, toward the forepart thereof, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod.
All right, so now we see the fastening of this royal garment. You see that golden girdle, quote unquote curious girdle, the one they got from the Spirit, the ingenious work that they wrought to bring it forth, and gird it around the waist of the priest, and then the ephod went and covered up his chest, or the paps as they call it. And the breastplate was with it, and it had these rings. You didn't take no string, no twine to tie it together. You took pure gold that they made as a wreath and tied it all together. That, once again, that is also an expensive garment. Dude got about $50,000 on him. You got people like to flex and be like, yeah, my watch is about $100,000. Aaron was wearing pure gold. A whole wreath, a chain of gold, not around his neck, but tying his whole garment together was gold and all these precious stones. You want to talk about somebody's iced out. Aaron was definitely iced out in his day, but for righteousness and for glory's sake, not for braggadocious sake, but to emulate the high priest that's in heaven, to bring forth heaven on earth. Let's read on.
And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod with a lace of blue, that it may be above the curious girdle of the ephod, and that the breastplate be not loosed from the ephod.
So now we see all 3 of these items coming together. The girdle, the ephod, and the breastplate became one piece, and you would not loosen it from another. You wouldn't take them apart. So that shows what the Messiah was wearing. If he had that golden girdle, you know he also had to have the ephod, and you know he also had the breastplate, because they were not taken apart. They were not loosed apart from the ephod. They were all set together as one piece. And that priest would take it off as one, put it back on as one, and then fasten it with those gold chains, and some of it being laces of blue. And that is how the priest would affix that breastplate with the ephod and the girdle to himself. This is what the Messiah was wearing in heaven. This is what the angel that Daniel saw was wearing in heaven. Let's read on. And if you would, Priest Gabar, get Ezra 2 and 59.
And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart.
All right, so now Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel. He is supporting the foundation of Abba's tabernacle. All the children of Israel, all 12 tribes upon him. Now it switches over to something. We're talking about breastplate over his paps, over his chest, his body. Now he's talking about Aaron's heart. How you switch from his chest to his heart? We know biblically it's not the muscle in your chest that's beating. It is your mind. So let's read on.
When he goeth in unto the holy place for a memorial before the Most High continually. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim.
So now we see in the breastplate was the Urim and the Thummim. What does it mean in the breastplate? Let's actually finish that up.
And they shall be upon Aaron's heart.
It says in the breastplate, but then upon Aaron's heart. Once again, the heart is different. The heart was in his head. It is something beyond just physical, actually. So why is it on the breastplate, but also in his heart? Shows you they're not talking about actually putting something in the breastplate. If we were to look at the translation, it says Nathan El, and El is any preposition you essentially want it to be. It can be in, it can be on, it can be about, it can be concerning. So it shall be concerning the breastplate, concerning that, there shall also be with it the Urim and the Thummim. So we see the breastplate of judgment. Read on.
When he goeth in before the Most High, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Most High continually.
So we see now it's not talking about something actually, a stone itself placed within that physical breastplate. You wear this garment, and with it you shall have the Urim and the Thummim. Now look at what it says in Hebrew. Now, if you follow along in this verse in the translation, this is a rough translation as well, but you see the word H853, F. You shall put, concerning the breastplate, there shall be Eth Urim and Eth Thummim. Aaron shall be in covenant and have the covenant of the Urim and the covenant of the Thummim as long as he is wearing this garment. And then it goes on to say, Aaron, Aaron shall be in covenant, and with wearing this garment, he shall have the covenant of the Urim and the Thummim. It's not a physical piece that goes in the breastplate. It is the enlightenment, as we went through in the series. It is the enlightenment of Abba. It shall be upon him as long as Aaron has that garment. And not only his enlightenment, but the Thummim. We went through that and showed the root is Tamim, perfection. He shall know the wisdom of Abba and be able to commune with him with this garment upon him. And with it, execute that judgment upon the earth. Bring forth his perfect will upon the earth. Know Abba's will and bring forth his work. These are the things that the priests embody when they have on their proper garments. The garments of the priesthood that the Messiah also had upon him. Once again, the Urim and the Thummim were a piece of this garment, not physically, but they wore them. But with that breastplate, with that ephod, you had the connection to Abba, and then you were able to execute it. This is what the priest was wearing. This is what the Messiah, the prince, was wearing. Let's continue on in that. Actually, let's drop that and let's go to Ezra 2 and get an example of this Urim and Thummim being in use by a priest. Ezra 2 and 59, priest.
And these were they which went up from Telmelah, Telharsa, Cherub, Adon, and Immer. But they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel.
So what was going on here in Ezra and Nehemiah's time is that they were leaving Babylon. The Persians came and overthrew them, and by Daniel a vision was given, and Nehemiah a vision was given, and the kings of Persia allowed the children of Israel to go back and rebuild the temple and the tabernacle of David, brought forth the priest in their order, and all these things that Moses brought out, including these garments. So now you had some, however, that weren't sure if they were Israel or not. Read on.
The children of Delaiah, the children of Tobiah, the children of Nekoda, 652. And the children of the priest, the children of Habiah, the children of Kaz, the children of Barzillai, which took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai, and Gilead, Gileadite, and was called after their names. These sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore, were they as polluted from the priesthood.
So because they couldn't determine their genealogy, Nehemiah's judgment was, stay away from this priesthood. We done screwed it up already. We're not going to try to screw it up again. You may be Israel, but we don't know yet. Wait until something happens. Read on.
And the Tarshitha,
which is Nehemiah, read on,
said unto them that they should not eat of the most holy thing.
Not only should you step away from the priesthood, don't eat what the priests eat. Don't join to the families of the priests either. Read on.
Till there stood up a priest with Urim and with Thummim.
Until there stood up a priest with Urim and Thummim to get answers for this conundrum that we're facing. Until we go and make these priest garments, give him the breastplate and the girdle and the ephod, give him the engravings of the 12 tribes of Israel, the foundation of Abba's tabernacle, so that he may go up into heaven and commune with Abba and get his understanding, get enlightenment, and then come back with the Thummim and tell us, so we can know the answer to this issue that we're facing. Until then, brothers, just stay back, all right? We know for a fact this brother's out of Aaron, and he's out of Ithamar, and this brother's out of Eleazar, so we're good with that. You, we don't know. Let's go and ask Appa. How many times that happened with Moses? Where they said, actually go and get that. In I believe it's in Exodus, where they were asking about the Passover and what should they do if somebody was unclean and couldn't take it. Go to Exodus and actually Numbers at 9. Go get Numbers 9, Priest Kabaria. And pick it up into pick it up in the first verse.
The Heavenly Father spoke unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt,
All right,
saying.
so this is the second time they kept the Passover. And now some people are trying to get some understanding of it. Go to the 6th verse.
And there were certain men who were defiled by a dead body of a man, and they could not keep the Passover on that day. And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, We were defiled by a dead body of a man. Wherefore are we kept back, that we may not offer an offering of the Heavenly Father in his appointed season among the children of Israel.
So there's men that were unclean, and the priest was like, hey, you can't come in here. You can't come keep this feast. They're like, what? This is the only time I can do it. The Most High said, if I don't do it, I'm cursed. What am I going to do? Moses, Aaron, what should I do? Read on.
And Moses said unto them, Stand still, and I will hear what...
Moses said, you know what? I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure. Just, you know what? Wait right there for a second. Read on.
And I will hear what Abba Yahweh will command concerning you.
Let me go get some Urim. Let me go get some enlightenment in this covenant. Let me put on this ephod and go up to Mount Sinai and get some answers. With that Urim, let me go commune with Abba and receive that light of wisdom so I can know what to do. Because right now, I'm not sure. Let me wear this priest garment and go up and execute some judgment. Read on.
And the Heavenly Father spoke unto Moses.
And in doing that, the Most High spoke. He went in the proper orders and proper channels. He put on the priest garment. He was baptized. He was anointed. He went up the mountain. He offered sacrifices. And the Most High spoke and gave him enlightenment. Read on.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Heavenly Father. The 14th day of the second month at evening they shall keep it, and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
So now we see the enlightenment that was given, and then Moses went and brought forth the Thummim, the perfection of this enlightenment. It was given to him in heaven, and then he brought it on earth. All right, brother, here you go. You're unclean, and you had a funeral you had to attend to. You can't keep this Passover. Well, this is what you do. You come in the second month. Come second month, 14th day. This is what Abba enlightened me with. And now go and do it, and it shall be perfect. Go and come in the second month. And this is something that we should all do. If we miss this Passover that we just missed, or that just passed actually, in the first month, 14th day, we're now in the first month, 19th day. 5 days ago, if you missed the Passover, the Most High is merciful and gave this judgment through Moses. Come second month, 14th day, at even, and eat the Passover, and it shall be acceptable unto you. Now, there's a caveat to that. You can't just say, I'm tired. Let me kick my feet up and not go to Passover. I got a safety net. I got second month, 14th day. That's not the case. Let's read on and see what the Most High's Urim or his enlightenment was about this.
And they shall keep it, and they shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. And they shall leave none of it to the morning, nor break any bones of it, according to the ordinance of the Passover. They shall keep it.
So you shall keep it just like Passover. Now what else?
But the man that is clean,
But if you are clean on the first month, 14th day, read on,
and is not in a journey,
and didn't have something that was preventing him from coming, read on,
and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even that same soul shall be cut off from among his people.
people like to think grace is just, a mercy period. You can say this, you got month of grace, a grace month of, I can come the second. No, you don't. Not like you think it. The Most High is being merciful, but if you don't come on the first month, 14th day, because you were lazy, because you were slothful, because you just said, I don't really want to, I'm going to do second month, 14th day. You didn't have a verifiable reason, whether you're unclean or you had something preventing you, you shall be cut off from among your people. Finish that verse up.
Because he brought not the offering of Abba Yahweh in his appointed season. That man shall bear his sin.
You're going to bear your own iniquity. Ain't nothing the priest can do. Oh, you just decided for some reason on your own that you're just not going to come to the feast? You just said, you want to watch March Madness. March Madness had you occupied and you didn't do the Passover? The game was getting hot and you had to watch that? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I ain't got nothing to do for you, brother. I can't bring no sin offerings, no trespass offerings, nothing to make that death angel pass over you. That you bear your iniquity and you deal with it how you think you can. I got nothing I can do for you. This was a safety net. But the main point they were bringing out, Moses brought forth that Urim and the Thummim. He had these priestly garments. He was a king and a priest in Jeshurun, just like the Messiah, the prince. And he bore that ephod and brought forth this Urim, the understanding, went in commune with Abba and got enlightened, got the spirit of wisdom, and then brought forth the Thummim, brought forth perfection, gave it on earth so that the people may do it. This is what the ephod and that breastplate brings to the children of Israel. Without that, we're lost. We have no vision. We have no connection with Abba Yahweh. If we don't have the priests standing strong in their order and the children of Israel being arrayed in a man to bear the foundations of Abba Yahweh. You have something you want to say, priest? All right, let's continue on. Actually, let's go to Daniel 12 and we'll pick up in the first verse, and then we'll go back to Exodus 28. AP Ezekiel. Go ahead and read Daniel 12 and 1 when you got it.
And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time or to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them, continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt.
So in the last days, at the coming of the Messiah, these things shall happen. Michael, a prince, a priest in heaven, shall stand up, and there shall be great trouble. There shall be war in heaven, and many shall be resurrected. Many that sleep shall come back up, and they will be judged out of that book. Did you live righteously? Oh, yeah, you're Abraham. You gave plenty of sacrifice. You kept covenant with Abba. Go ahead. You welcome into this everlasting life. Oh, you're Balaam? You wanted to enchant against the children of Israel, and you made league with Satan and not Abba? Go ahead and burn that lake of fire with him. Let's read on.
And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end.
So, Daniel, what I gave you, shut it up. Don't let that understanding come out until the time of the end. Read on.
Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.
And knowledge shall be increased. Once you see the understanding of the Urim being brought forth, that knowledge of Abba, the understanding, the wisdom coming forth, you see that the Messiah is near at hand. The Messiah is ready to return. And as Chief Priest brought out, Let's look at the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. The foolish ones were not prepared. They thought, oh, the bridegroom is going to tell us. He's going to ring a bell and say, hey, now it's time to get ready. Get your oil. But the 5 that were wise are like, I got to get ready beforehand. I'm not going to wait until he says, I'm going to be ready when he comes out. And the 5 foolish said, oh, it's time. I need to go get my oil. I need to go get ready.
Let me get some of your oil.
Yeah, let me get some. No. I've been working on this forever. Since I was 5 years old, I got consecrated in this covenant. How old are you? I'm 50. Oh, now you want some of my oil? Go get some of your own. And while they out working, trying to make it happen, the bridegroom comes and said, where my wives at? Come on. Come to the wedding chamber and let's make this happen. The Messiah is preparing for the marriage of the Lamb. We are the ones who need to get ready. It's been ready. He consecrated the covenant and said, go do that. Now it's up to us to get ready. And as you're seeing the signs of the return of the Messiah, we talked about the priest bringing forth the brazen altar. As you see the priest talking about putting peace, sin, trespass, and tithe offerings upon the brazen altar, now you're seeing the return of the Messiah. As you see the priest talking about that fire of the brazen altar, you see the return of the Messiah. When you see priests talking about true baptism, the Messiah's return is at hand. And now as you see the priest talking about these garments, the adornment of the priest, the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 gates going into the foundation of the temple of Abba, the marriage is at hand. Don't be the 5 foolish virgins, all out here doing whatever, trying to make things happen when the wedding is at hand. Be the 5 strong, wise virgins who have come, who have prepared themselves well in advance. And all they're doing now is waiting. I got my oil, I got my bread, I got my wine, I got everything I need. I am just waiting patiently for the bridegroom to come, and now we can make this happen. At the last days, knowledge, the Urim shall increase. When the Urim is unveiled and the Thummim is understood, the Messiah's return is at hand. Let's drop that. Let's go back to Exodus 28.
If I could add something
go
real
ahead,
quick.
priest.
So what Yaradan brought out is very interesting when you hear it. I know it's something that's new, but even in the scriptures, I think it's in the Wisdom of Solomon, maybe the 4th chapter, the 5th chapter, and it says that the people of the earth, the other nations, even Israel that's in darkness, were amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that we imagined. That means, because I know when I came up in the Christian church, we was thinking he was going to come out of the sky and float down, with a bed of roses, saying, come, my blessed. They said this salvation that came to them, it was strange. We had no idea that it was going to be this way. So pay attention. It's not going to be what you think. It's not going to even be what we think. I think as we move on, further on in this wisdom that we was given, I think we're going to have a better understanding of exactly how he's coming. I mean, I know so much more now about it than I did before. And I think, as it draws nearer, we will know even more. So this is amazing to me to even know this.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, there's so many people talking about salvation is going to come here, salvation is going to come there. We're not going to go through it in detail. I know Chief Priest wants to go through it, but people are talking about this eclipse that's coming at the end of our first month. And yeah, it may have some, some merit to it. But what all these Christians and Israelites alike are talking about is folly. One person posted it on our social media platform, City of Adam, where we can all communicate with each other. And I saw it. It was a Christian talking about, the eclipse is coming. And guess where it's passing through? Christ said it, the last day shall be like the day of Jonah. It's passed through the town of Jonah. It's passed through the town of Nineveh. It's passed through, what are you talking about, brother? That's how you measure whether or not the Most High is doing something, because some Gentile named a town Jonah and is passing through that? Because somebody named a town Nineveh and is passing through that? Those are not the metrics. How many cities are called Jerusalem? There's a Jerusalem, Georgia. There's that old Jerusalem. There's New Jerusalem. There's Jerusalem, Georgia. I'm sure every state probably got a small town called Jerusalem.
That's right.
What do we got to do, set up a holy city in every one of these states? All 50 states? No. I know definitely in the Bible Belt, I'm sure there's Jerusalem, Alabama. It's not talking about that's the Holy Land. You even got Israelites talking about there's a doctrine about that. They say the southern states is Israel. Because look, you got Jerusalem here. You got Bethlehem here. You got, man, this is folly.
Knock it off.
You know what you should be doing? You should be getting prepared for whatever the Most High is bringing forth. Not about some April 8th. Because what if April 8th comes, you've been prophesying, this is the salvation of Israel. Most High is Xing out America. What happens if it doesn't come to pass? Now what? You just go, yeah, false prophet, but they just going to go quiet. Yeah. Resurge up next year and be like, I got another prophecy. Your first one was fake. Actually, that was your fifth one. You were talking about September 2 years ago was going to be salvation. You were talking about whatever, the sun was going to enter into Virgo, and that was going to be, that's the woman with the 12 stars and the crown upon her head. Folly.
That day came and left.
Absolutely. And ain't nothing changed. Nothing at all. Wait patiently on the Most High. Be the 5 wise virgin. Get your oil ready. Stop worrying about when he's going to come or exactly when, and just get yourself ready so that when he does come, you can partake in it. But you all worried about April 8th and X, Y, and Z, and you know nothing about priesthood, know nothing about oblations, know nothing about covenant. Even if April 8th was the date, what's the guarantee you're going to be saved?
Yeah.
Did you get sealed in this covenant? Did you bring forth your bread and your wine? Did you bring your peace offerings? Did you get rid of sin? No. So maybe you shouldn't be hoping on April 8th. Give yourself some more time to get ready and come to this covenant, because it may not be good for you if that was the end.
Yeah, they should be hoping for a postponement.
Exactly. Exactly. And the Most High says he's long-suffering. He's waiting. Revelation 7 tells us the angels are already ready to bring forth that cursed, hurtful wind upon the earth. But there's another angel saying, oh, hold it down, slow down, hold your horses. We got to seal every one of Abba's servants in his forehead. Every single one. The Most High is being long-suffering. We got to be long-suffering too. I know we want out of here. I understand. I get it. But be long-suffering. Wait patiently on Abba Yahweh, and don't try to make it happen on your own. Let's drop that. Let's go back to Exodus 28. And then if you go back to Revelations, get Revelation 19, priest. Exodus 28 and 31. AP Hezekiah.
And thou shalt make the robe of the ephod all of blue.
All right, so now with the ephod, you have this long blue robe coating the priest, covering him from his head to his toes, just like the Messiah had, a long garment down to the foot. He had this long garment with the golden girdle, or the girdle, the ephod, and the breastplate, to bring forth Urim and Thummim. Let's read on.
And there shall be a hole in the top of it, in the midst thereof. It shall have a binding of woven work round about the whole of it.
All right. So now we see what we covered in Devil's Fringes. Finish that verse up.
As it were the whole of an habergeon, that it be not rent.
So you make a hole in this garment. And when you cut fabric, you got these loose tassels hanging out. So what do? He said, it shall be bound with woven work. You shall bind it as a whole of a habergeon, that it rent, not that it doesn't rip. Because if you just got dangling tassels, it's just going to unravel. You ever pulled a string, or you ever seen the cartoons? They got one string coming, and they just pull it. The whole garment's coming apart. You can't have that. So make a hem. And it's going to tell you right here in the 33rd verse, what do you make on this garment?
And beneath upon the hem.
Upon the hem.
Come on.
Did it say tassels? No, it says the hem. You make a hem of the garment. Hem that thing up so it doesn't fall apart, so it doesn't rent. Not so we can have these dangling tassels upon it. Once again, we show the archaeology of it, that there were Babylonians with tassels hanging from their garments, that there were Persians hanging. You look at any modern picture of any president, what's behind him? An American flag. And what's on that flag? Some tassels. Looks just like a Hebrew garment. I don't say a Hebrew garment, but a Hebrew Israelite garment that they got wearing today. On the American flag, I thought this was unique to Israel. The flag got blue on it too. Got ribbons of stripes of blue. And you saying this is unique to Israel? No, brother. You are getting this from other cultures. The Gentiles who have invaded our culture got it from other cultures. The priest did not have tassels hanging from his garment. The Messiah in heaven does not have spiritual tassels hanging from his garment. He has a clean hem with the ornaments and the decorations upon it. Let's read on.
And beneath upon the hem of it thou shalt make pomegranates of blue and of purple and of scarlet round about the hem thereof, and bells of gold between them round about.
So, do these colors sound familiar? Oh, what they sound like, sis? Absolutely. The veil to the temple. It shall be made with blue, with purple, with scarlet. Aaron was bearing up this holy temple and the foundations thereof with the 12 tribes. Everything related to Abba's temple was embodied in Aaron's garment, in the high priest's garment. Same thing with the Messiah the Prince. He embodies everything that goes down in Abba's temple. He has charge and ministry over it all. Let's read on.
A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his song shall be heard when he goeth in unto the holy place before the Most High, and when he cometh out, that he die not. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and grave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, holiness to the Most High.
All right, so now you shall make a plate of gold and engrave upon it. And where do you put this plate?
And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre. Upon the forefront of the mitre, it shall be.
So the head covering of Aaron had this golden engraving upon it, saying, holiness to Abba Yahweh. Read on.
And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Most High.
Now, this is not really the best translation of that engraving, holiness to Abba, because what it says in Hebrew is Kodash Yahweh. It is saying Abba Yahweh the Holy. Aaron is essentially has the name of Abba upon him. You know, in the world, in wickedness, a woman, she gets a man, that man wants her to get his name tatted on her because he wants her to know you're mine. This is what Abba's saying. Aaron, you are mine, all right? You minister unto me. You belong to me. My name is upon you. Now, we already know the Messiah is wearing the priest's garment. He must have had this upon him too, this crown with an engraving upon it. Let's get that in Revelations 19 and pick up in the 11th verse, Priest Kabaria.
And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doeth judge and make war.
So the Messiah came out with a white horse, and with righteousness does he judge the people, and he even decides if he wants to make war or not, as we'll talk about, Abba willing. Let's read on.
His eyes were as a flame of fire, and his head were many crowns.
All right, so now we see his eyes of fire once again, and upon his head, this great crown, the same crown that was upon Aaron the high priest in his physical covenant. Read on.
And he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself.
Yeah, a name written that no man knew? Why was that no man knew it? Because it wasn't his own name. It was another name. Read on.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
Now we're going to talk about this. We're going to come back to this dipped in blood. But let's read on.
And his name was called the Word of Abba Yahweh.
So how did he just say it was a name that nobody knew and then say his name was the Word of Abba? Because this name that he's talking about is not his own name. Now, his name is the Word, Logos, the image of Abba, the replication of Abba Yahweh, his high priest. Let's read on.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him with white horses, clothed with fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with the rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty Abba.
All right, so there's a spoiler alert for tomorrow's class, Abba willing, but we won't go through it. But we see his armies also, his angels, his fellow priests had similar garments on, as priest Rashim brought out. The angel that had the legs of fiery brass, but also the chest piece of beryl. He was wearing that ephod too, embodying the royal priesthood. Let's read on.
And he has on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
He had this name written. This is the engraving. King of Kings, Lord of Lords. It's not talking about him. It's talking about to whom he belongs. Abba Yahweh, just like Aaron had holy Abba Yahweh on the engraving in his headpiece, on his crown. His crown is on the Messiah, the Prince. He belongs to the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, Abba Yahweh. He is embodying everything that priests wore. Now I heard some Christians like to look at this and say, this is why tattoos are acceptable. Christ had a tattoo on his thigh, right? So low-hanging fruit once again. Aaron had this on as a high priest. Now, Aaron ain't have no tattoos. I can guarantee you that. If it was, he'd be like, skip Aaron. Let's go straight to Eleazar. Yeah. We ain't doing that. This was upon him, upon his garment. The priest garment and that crown upon him as a king priest, as the prince, belonging to the everlasting king, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Abba Yahweh. This was what was upon the Messiah. That golden girdle, the robe, the crown, all of it embodying the priesthood and the foundations with which Abba created the earth and created the whole world. All of its foundations is in worship, oblations, and priesthood. Let's drop that. Actually, go back to the 13th verse, and then we're going to go to Exodus 29 and pick up in the first verse, AP. Revelation 19 and 13.
And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Abba Yahweh.
Now, why was his vesture dipped in blood? He was just a bloody man killing everybody? Why was his vesture dipped in blood? Let's go to Exodus 29:1. We'll see. We should be able to see. If we're seeing everything he's wearing, Moses replicated this and put it on Aaron, we should see a similar thing going on with Aaron, his vesture being dipped in blood. Exodus 29:1.
And this is the thing that thou shalt do unto them to hallow them, to minister unto me in the priest's office. Take one young bullock and 2 rams without blemish.
All right, jump to the 19th verse. We went over this with the consecration of the priest, that as Moses brought forth that bullock for a sin offering to remove the curse from Aaron, the Messiah came on the cross and became a curse or a sin offering to consecrate the priest. And then also the heave, show, and the wave breast of the priest, the ram of the consecration. And now once they sacrificed that ram of consecration, then what happened?
And thou shalt take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons shall put their hands upon the head of the ram. Then shalt thou kill the ram, and take of his blood, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of Aaron.
This is the consecration of the priest. You take that blood and put it upon the right ear of Aaron. What else?
And upon the tip of the right ear of
also of his sons. Read on.
And upon the thumb of their right hand, and upon the great toe of their right foot.
So you put it on their right thumb as well, and the big toe of the right foot. Let's read on.
And sprinkle the blood upon the altar round about.
And also the altar received the sprinkling of the blood. What else?
And thou shalt take of the blood that is upon the altar, and of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron and upon his garments.
Now you take that blood and sprinkle it on Aaron and upon his garments. Read on.
And upon his sons, and upon the garments of his sons with him, and he shall be hallowed, and his garments and his sons garments with him.
So his sons were hallowed, and his sons' garments were hallowed. These were holy garments sprinkled with blood. Now, the Messiah had his vesture dipped in blood. meaning he was a consecrated priest. He wasn't just acting as priest, he was consecrated to be in that position. Just like Aaron had that blood sprinkled upon his garment, the Messiah had the blood sprinkled upon his priestly garment as well. He is embodying everything related to the priest. And some people want to say sacrifice is done away with. Crazy. Satan has you delulu, as they like to call it today. You are delusional, thinking that sacrifice is done away with. If this series is not proving, I don't know what can. I'll be out, I gotta come and remove them scales from your eyes because you are blind. You think Revelations 1 is not talking about sacrifices. Sacrifices have existed from the beginning of time. They exist today, and they will continue to exist. This is what the whole duty of man is. Let's go to the 28th chapter. We'll drop that and pick it back up where we left off in verse 39. So now we see the Messiah embodying everything with priesthood. The brazen altar, the fire of the altar, the baptism, and also the garments of the priesthood. His robe down to the foot, the golden girdle of the ephod, and the breastplate. That's all bound together. You don't separate them. So he was wearing a girdle, an ephod, and the breastplate of the priesthood. Now let's go back in the 28th chapter and finish that up.
And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework.
Once again, we see the same thing. The coats, the mitre, and the girdle being all done cunningly from the pattern they saw in spirit. They saw the Messiah wearing it and say, hey, you're the high priest on earth, right? You have to follow suit. Read on.
And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them, for glory and for beauty. And thou shalt put them...
Let's pause right there. We see that thou shalt make a mitre, a head covering for Aaron, and also for his sons, bonnets. If you would, Priest Gabarya, you can get 1 Corinthians 11. We'll go and cover that real quick as a side. Now, we've done it several times, but we might as well do it again. All right, so we see the priest wearing a head covering to minister to Abba. These were the holy garments. He said, don't take this off. When you go to the temple, you better not take this off. When you minister to me, you better keep this on. If you take any piece of it off, that's probably what Nadab did. Because anything, Nadab could do anything. He could take his head off, his head covering off. Fire came down from heaven and smote him because he did something out of order, out of line. Let's go to that 1 Corinthians 1, or 1 Corinthians 11, and pick up in the first verse, priest.
Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I delivered them unto you.
So this is the whole context of what Paul is saying. I follow the Messiah, and you should follow me. So keep this order as I'm delivering it to you. This is the order that Abba has set up upon his earth. Read on.
I will have you know that the head of every man is the Messiah, the Prince.
So here is the head of man. Here is Paul's head. Here is even Aaron and Moses' head. They were men on earth. They had a head. Even though they were rulers in the earth, there was somebody over them. We already saw that in Numbers. They didn't know what to do when they said, I'm unclean on Passover. It was only their second Passover that they had kept. So they said, I don't know. Let me go ask my head. The women should take this tip. I don't know. I'm not going to make up an answer. Let me go ask my head. Let me go ask him. This is what we should all be doing because Moses and Aaron were humble enough to do this. Let me go up to heaven and ask. The head of every man is the Messiah. Read on.
And the head of the woman is the man.
And the head of the woman is the man. Read on.
And the head of the Messiah is Abba Yahweh.
Now you see why Aaron had his head covered with an engraving upon it, showing you who his head was. And the Messiah does the same thing, has an engraving on his head of who his head is, Abba Yahweh. And he is Christ's head, and Christ is the head of the man, and the man is the head of the woman. Read on.
Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head.
We just showed that Moses, Aaron, and his sons minister, pray, and prophesy to Abba with their head covered. The ephod allowed them to go with Urim and communicate with Abba. That's prophesying. And he said, put that mitre on your head. Put that crown on your head when you come and talk to me. And we want to take this and think this means don't put something on your head when you go and prophesy and read and teach and pray unto the Most High. When you pray unto Abba, you got to take your hat off. This is folly. You don't understand what was being read about, what was being stated in the earlier verses. This is not what it's talking about. Let's get, if you hold there, you get Isaiah 30:1. And go ahead and read on, priest.
But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head.
So a man praying with his head covered, dishonoring his head. The head is Christ. And a woman praying with her head uncovered, dishonor her head. Even her husband. What is this covering that he's talking about? Isaiah 30:1.
Woe to the rebellious children, saith the Most High, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit.
Look at that. What would happen if Moses got counsel, but it wasn't of Abba Yahweh? They came and said, what do I do? I'm unclean on the Passover. What am I supposed to do? Well, brother, you wicked. We got to remove you from the camp. That's my own counsel. No, you're just honoring your head. You didn't seek counsel from Abba Yahweh. You weren't covered in his covering. He said, you know what? Let me go to my head and get some counsel on this. He went up to Abba Yahweh and received that enlightenment from the Urim and brought it back and brought perfection to the people. This is that covering. But if a man takes off that covering and goes outside of Abba Yahweh, you're dishonoring the Messiah, the Prince. This is the covering that he's talking about, the spirit of Abba Yahweh. Get that spirit of wisdom upon you. And any woman that has her head uncovered is not under a man bringing forth that spirit of wisdom, and she goes outside of that covering, dishonors that man. This is what it's talking about. It has nothing to do with a physical head covering. So men can come and pray with their head covered. Priest Kabari can read and teach with his hat on.
That's right.
Because it's not about physical covering. It is about being covered in the spirit of Abba Yahweh. And a woman can come and pray with her head physically uncovered. If she is under the authority of her husband, or if she is unmarried under the authority of her father, or if she is a widow or an orphan under the covering of the priesthood, she can come and have her head covered or uncovered. It is not a mandate. It was a cultural thing to cover yourself. When Rebecca came and met Isaac, she put on a veil because it wasn't about beauty. It wasn't about looks. It was about being connected with this man in righteousness. It wasn't about he just desired her like a dog. It was about making that connection in spirit. So if a woman is outside of her covering of a husband or of a father or of the royal priesthood, and she wants to say, I'm praying and I'm prophesying, you are a dishonor to your head. And if a man says, I'm into Buddhism, let me prophesy my Buddhist prophecy, you are an abomination, dishonoring Christ the head. Come under this proper ordinance. Don't try to skirt it. Don't try to go around. Come in this ordinance, and it shall be power unto all of us. Now, we've covered this several times. Not going to go deep into it. Let's go back to Exodus 28 and pick up where we left off. We see Aaron praying and prophesying, and his sons praying and prophesying with a physical head covering on. Had nothing to do with that whatsoever. Had all to do with, who are you in covenant with? Are you going outside this covering, Abba Yahweh's covering and the Messiah's covering? And obviously he had on his head the engraving Abba Yahweh. He was in league with him. So let's read on.
Verse 41. And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, and shall anoint them, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness. From the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach.
All right, so now you had also, angels have a robe on. They had some undergarments on too. They had breeches and they had pants on to cover all their nakedness. Let's read on.
And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him.
So we showed, or we're saying again, it was upon Aaron and his sons to minister. And if you took these garments off, that fire would come down from heaven and say, what are you doing, Aaron? I am about to consume you. Why'd you take that mitre off? Oh, I thought I couldn't cover my head when I prayed. Who told you that? This camp over here. I'm going to send the fire to consume you. That is a lie. Put that head covering on, Aaron. Ithamar, put that head covering on. Bring forth these priest garments. It shall be a statute upon you and your seed forever to wear this royal garment when you come and minister. You got to look just like the Messiah, the Prince. Look just like him. That's what I want on this earth, is what the Messiah is saying. Let's drop that. Let's go to the 29th chapter and pick it up actually in the 29th verse. And if you'll get Numbers 20 and 23, priest. Let's get Exodus 29.
And the holy garments of Aaron shall be his sons after him.
All right, so now Aaron had this special garment. But he was a physical man. He was going to die. And you would pass that garment on to the next priest. Finish that up.
To be anointed therein, and to be consecrated in them. And that son that is priest in his stead shall put them on 7 days, when he cometh into the tabernacle of the congregation to minister in the holy place.
All right, so now we see a changing of the hands, a procession of rulership. Aaron was the top priest, the high priest in his day, and then he died. And it was passed on to his son, who passed on to his son. It was the same garment each time that Moses made. Let's get that in Numbers 20 and pick up in the 23rd verse. Priest Gabaria.
And the Heavenly Father spoke unto Moses and Aaron in Mount Hor by the coast of the land of Edom, saying, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I gave unto the children of Israel, because ye rebelled against my word at the water of Meribah. Take Aaron and Eleazar his son, and bring them up unto the Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments, and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, and shall die there.
So now here is the death of Aaron, the high priest. He had on that royal garment, was consecrated. Most I said, all right, you ain't making it. Pass it on, as I mentioned in Exodus. Read on.
And Moses did as the Heavenly Father commanded, and they went up into Mount Hor in the sight of all the congregation. And Moses stripped Aaron of his garment and put them.
I don't know if I'm the only one. I know some others do, but when I read some of these scriptures, I start to picture it and see it in my chamber of imagery. This is like a very sad scene in the movie. Aaron, this man who had been there since Egypt, saw the Exodus, didn't make it to that promised land that was given to them. You see all the old heads essentially dying off, even Aaron and Moses. And I know they went up in the mountain. It kind of sounds impersonal here. Just strip it off, put on him. I'm sure it was some salutes. They already knew. Moses told him he's about to die. I know it was saluting. It was crying. It was tears from Moses, from Eleazar. It's my father, and I got to stand at his set. How am I going to do this? I'm sure Aaron was like, I know I got to die. Let me give you some encouragement, Eleazar. Don't fall after my mistakes. You see, when I mistakenly made that golden calf for Israel, stand strong, be a strong priest. Stand up manfully and do this charge. I know you got to go in the holies of holies and talk with Abba with the thunders and lightnings. You remember that? I know you got to do that now. And I'm sure they were weeping and crying. And before Aaron finally passed away, let me get that ephod, Aaron. Let me get that robe of blue. Let me get that breastplate, the girdle. I put that in Eleazar. Read on.
And Moses stripped Aaron of his garment and put them on Eleazar his son. And Aaron died there on the top of the mount.
So he died there up top that mountain. And the people didn't know this. Moses knew this. I'm sure he didn't tell them. And they went up. And they were probably like, oh, okay, they about to get some new visions. All right, great. All praise. I want to see what they got next. Let's read on.
And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mount. And when all the congregation saw
So
that,
now Aaron, Moses, and Eleazar went up. And now Moses and Eleazar themselves went down. Read on.
and when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead,
And all the congregation probably went up to the mountain to meet them. What you got for us? You got something deep? You got new 10 commandments? What you got? Hey, wait. Where's Aaron? You want with Aaron, right? Where's Aaron? Read on.
and they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel.
That was a sad day. Aaron died and passed away, and the whole house mourned. Say, hey, we're going to camp here for 30 days and just mourn our brother who passed. Let's make sure the Most High remembers him at that resurrection so he can be joined with us. Don't be hard-headed and stiff-necked ones that ain't making it. Let's all seek to meet Aaron again in that resurrection. But we see that garment got passed. He had to loosen that girdle. He had to take off that breastplate and pass it on to Eleazar. We see this garment passed now, and then Eleazar had to pass it down to Phinehas. And then Phinehas had to pass it down. And they had to keep that garment all the way up unto the destruction of Babylon. And then they had to go and remake that garment and put it on Eleazar's lineage again. That garment got passed down from generation to generation. And we see the same thing happening. We're going to drop that. We're going to go to the book of Jasher. Jasher 7 and 23. We'll see the same thing actually happening. If you would get Psalms 110. So we see the garment getting passed down. And whoever had that garment upon him had that covenant, had the Urim and the Thummim, and was able to get that enlightenment and go up and commune with Yahweh and speak with them and get the judgment and bring it down upon the earth. Now, let's look at that in Jasher. Let's see what happened here.
And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son. And they called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time the sons of men, again began to rebel and transgress against Abba. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age.
So now we see Nimrod coming on the scene, being as we might know him, a great king, a mighty hunter who ruled over the people. Read on.
And the garments of skin, which Abba made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush.
Oh, wow. So Adam had a garment as well. Even on earth, the Most High said, let me show you how to make this garment. Go and put this garment together. Go get this girdle and go put it on you. Read on.
And after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch.
So when Adam died, he said, I got to pass this on. Seth, go and wear this garment. Seth, go and give it to Enos when you die. Enos, pass it on to Canaan. Canaan, go and give it to Jared. Jared, give it to Enoch. Read on.
The garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared, and when Enoch was taken up to Abba, he gave them to Methuselah, his
And now
son.
when Enoch said, I am leaving this earth, Methuselah, put this garment on. Gird yourself about with it and minister unto Abba. Have that Urim and Thummim and communicate with him and perfect it upon this earth. Read on.
And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark. And they were with him until he went out of the ark.
I think we went through this on YouTube, so we can talk briefly about it. That ark wasn't just a boat. It was a resemblance of the holy tabernacle. So Noah put this priestly garment inside that tabernacle, just like we see with the Messiah, the Prince, had that garment upon him as well. Read on.
And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers.
So now Noah was going to choose who this would go down to and say, Shem, this is your garment. Go ahead and put this on. But Ham took it instead. Read on.
And when Ham begot his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days.
So now those garments are passed down to Cush. And what did Cush do?
And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brethren. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments.
So now we see that Cush got it and concealed it. I know I'm not supposed to have this. I know it's supposed to go to Shem, and it's supposed to go to Arphaxad, and it's supposed to go to his side. I know that, but I like this garment. There's some power in this garment, he thought. And we already see Nimrod at one point was operating in this way. As David set up the priest at 20 years old, become priest, he did the same thing. He didn't wait till when he was 18. He did it when he was 20. Put those garments on. Read on.
And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and the Heavenly Father gave him might and strength.
He became strengthened with those garments, a token of Abba's power in heaven, and it was upon him. Read on.
And he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field. And he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered upon them the animals before Abba Yahweh.
Now, that's interesting. You see him offering sacrifices to the Most High. Now, Nimrod and Cush and Ham, they weren't wicked yet. It took a minute for that wickedness to start to set in. Noah taught them righteously, and Ham passed it on. Now, Canaan was tripping, but it didn't say Cush was tripping or Put. They were living righteously. Even though they brought a little leaven in, it would take a little bit of a minute for that leaven to start to rise. Nimrod was building altars and sacrificing animals upon it with that holy garment on. Let's read on.
And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. And the Heavenly Father delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands, and Abba prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned upon the earth.
Just like a high priest would win all the battles by the power of the Abba being upon him, and he would reign over the earth as a king priest. Let's read on.
Therefore it became current in those days when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like Abba did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies. So may the Heavenly Father strengthen us and deliver us this day.
All right, so now it became even a parable that just like that spirit is upon, that power is upon Nimrod, let that power be upon us when any man would go out to battle. Let's read on.
When Nimrod was 40 years old, at the time there was a war between his brethren and the children of Japhet, so that they were in power.
Actually, let's skip down to the 42nd verse.
And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies round about, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And he found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large, extensive city, and Nimrod called the name of the city that he had built Shinar, for the Heavenly Father had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them.
So now we see that Nimrod built Shinar. He built up even around where the ark of Noah landed. Let's read on. Built him a palace and a kingdom, and built up all this riches after conquering all of Noah's sons, Japhet as well. Let's read on.
And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King.
So people brought offerings up to Nimrod. We see the power in that garment. Now, it's not the garment itself, but it's the spirit of the Most High upon that. And he chose that and consecrated it. Let's read on.
They all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah and they were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the way of the Heavenly Father, and he was more wicked.
So now, over time, Nimrod started to become wicked, started to become a vile person. And he started off with the teachings from Ham and Cush and Noah. But over time, as that power started getting to his head, he said, I think I'm God. Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm look how mighty I am. I'm destroying all these people. I'm governing. People bringing me offerings. I'm God, said Nimrod. He let that power get to his head. Read on.
And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days. And he made gods of wood and stone.
I'm sure those gods were himself. Made a statue of wood and stone, like, look at Nimrod, bow down to me, I am your God. Became wicked and filled with sin. Read on.
And he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against the Heavenly Father. And he taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon, his son, was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness.
If you would get, hold that, if you would get not Psalms, 1 Samuel 24. Finish that up.
And it was current in the words of men from that time till this.
So now we see a proverb being taken up. This man, Nimrod, started off offering offerings to Abba, in league and covenant, but then started breaking covenant, started getting wicked, and started doing wickedness. We even know he was the one who wanted to kill Abraham. He didn't want Shem to rise up in power. Ham had the power at that moment. So this man going to take my garment and take my kingdom? Absolutely not. Wickedness came upon him. And then he had a son, Mardon, and his son was more wicked than him. I'm going to kill everybody. Even if you even think about top of my, I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to set up, my father set up 20 idols. I'm going to set up 50. My father set up offerings every month. I'm going to set up offerings every day to my idols. This man was wicked. And read that proverb again that said in Jasher. What was that verse? The verse before the one you finished?
Yeah, let me see. Everyone heard. 48. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. Therefore,
all right, so now go to 1 Samuel 11:24. As a side note, bring out an extra piece or the extra nugget right here. This was a proverb given out in Jasher, and now we're giving more validity to the book of Jasher. Some people don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't believe in it? You believe in King David? You believe in him and his righteousness? Let's get 1 Samuel 24. And we'll pick up in the 11th verse. So it's the context in this. Saul became just like Nimrod, became wicked, and then sought to kill David, his servant, the righteous. And David had his opportunity, saw him sleeping in a cave. And David's servants were like, man, kill that man. You know he's your enemy. You know he's trying to kill you. David went and just said, nope, let me cut his garment. I'm going to show him something. And even cutting his garment, he was like, that hurt me.
Yeah.
And so he went and hid, and Saul started to leave. He woke up that morning and left and called him out. Saul, that David? Saul, look at your garment. Look what I got in my hand. I got your garment. I could have killed you in your sleep. I'm not your enemy. Why are you trying to kill me? And this is what he said to him as well. Read on in 1 Samuel 24:11.
Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe in my hand. For in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe, and killed thee not. Know thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in mine hand, and I have not sinned against thee. Yet thou huntest my soul to take it.
So he said, I had the opportunity to kill you, but I didn't. I'm not your enemy. I'm not trying to fight you. No, there's no sin or transgression in me against you. Read on.
The Most High judge between me and thee, and the Most High avenge me of thee. But mine hand shall not be upon thee.
He said, let the Most High work his work. I, though, will not touch you. The Most High anointed you. I am not going to come up against you. Read on.
As said the proverb of the ancients.
Who was this proverb? I thought Solomon, his son, made the proverb. Solomon wasn't even born yet. What's the proverb of the ancients? Read on.
Wickedness proceeded from the wicked.
Wickedness begets wickedness. A proverb from the book of Jasher that was said from the times of Nimrod, passed down to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to Moses, to Judah, to David. Let's read on.
But mine hand shall not be upon thee. After
That's it right there. We'll close it right there. Go back to that Psalms 110. Now we see wickedness begets wicked. David was a studious man studying ancient books like the book of Jasher.
Come on.
We see him reiterating this same proverb that's found there in Jasher. That's a little side point, a little side nugget to this main meal right here. But we see Nimrod stole those garments and that power was upon him. And this is what would happen when the garment was passed down. When Aaron would pass down his garment to Eleazar, that power that was on Aaron was on Eleazar. When Eleazar got old and was ready to perish, took that garment off and passed it to Phineas. Phineas did the same with his son, and then his son, and then his son, and then his son. And then it even got passed down to Eli. But Eli was wicked, and it got passed down to Samuel. And he embodied that power in that Urim, the enlightenment of Abba, to bring forth that perfection upon the earth. Now, we see that in a physical covenant, that thing can get stolen. It went from Adam to Seth to Enos to Canaan to Jared to Enoch to Mahalalel or Methuselah, and then so on and so forth, all the way out to Noah. And then from Noah, it was supposed to go to Shem, but Ham took it, stole it, and said, let me hide this. This is Adam's priest garment, showing Adam was a priest. Adam was a high priest. And on earth, he was that physical high priest over earth. He was supposed to reign with the Messiah, but he fell. And the Most High said, make some garments because you're going to replicate that on earth. You're going to die, though. Not going to keep it forever. And in a physical covenant, that stuff can get stolen. That stuff can get taken. Somebody can take your power from you if you want to do a physical covenant. Why you want to do Moses' covenant? It's great for physical people, but somebody can come and steal that physical covenant from you. Somebody can come and defile it. He had to give warning to the high priest. When Aaron had his garment on, and Nadab and Abihu screwed up, and fire came down from heaven to consume him, he said, hey, don't rent your garment now. Don't rip that thing. Yeah. That's holy. If you rip that, fire's going to come down and get you too. Do not rip that. That had to contain all that sorrow and pain and anger. Say, let me give this oblation. That's what happens in a physical covenant. You can screw it up. But now, let's read Psalms 110, and we'll go straight to the point. And actually, no, read from the top.
The Most High said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
This is the same thing that the Messiah talked about in the New Testament. Who was David talking about when he said, Abba Yahweh said to my Lord? Who's David's Lord? I thought he was king of Israel. Who was above him? He was subduing all these nations. He didn't pay no tribute to no other nation. He wasn't subject to any other king. Who was David's Lord? It was me, said the Messiah, the Prince. Abba Yahweh said to David's Lord, David's high priest. David was a high priest, and he said, my high priest, sit thou at my right hand till I make your enemies thy footstool. Read on.
The Most High shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thine enemies.
Send that rod out and rule over the enemies with an iron rod. Read on.
Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power.
Come on.
In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Most High hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
The Most High has sworn and will not change. You are a priest forever. Ain't nobody going up to heaven and saying, let me wait till the Messiah goes to sleep so I can steal his ephod and his golden girdle and his robe. And then he wakes up, where is it? Absolutely not. You are a priest forever. You want to devolve into a physical covenant that can get stolen and taken from you. The wrong person can wear that garment. But in this divine covenant, nobody can take that from the Messiah. It even says the nations who will try to go to war, try to take that power from him, he's going to laugh. It's a little peon. That's like ants coming in your room thinking they can take you over. Little ants. Don't you know I got a bucket full of Raid? And I will spray it in this whole place. Don't play with the Messiah. He is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And you cannot take or strip that garment from him. In that physical covenant, Aaron died and he had to pass it to Eleazar. And Eleazar died and he had to pass it to Phineas. And Phineas died and he had to pass it on to his son. But in this covenant, the Messiah has been high priest for 2,000 years already. And it ain't changed. Even back in the times of old, Methuselah lived 963 years long. And nobody lived 2,000 years. The Messiah is a priest forever, wearing that garment forever. And it does not change. Lastly, let's end it on Wisdom of Solomon 18, priest. And we'll go straight to the point, pick up in the 20th verse. Wisdom of Solomon 18, verse 20. So now we see the Messiah wearing that priest garment. And when we start hearing about the priest garment, the ephod, and the engraving of stones, how this is the foundation of Abba's temple, and the oblations and the sacrifice and everything involving priesthood, when you see a resurgence of the royal priesthood, rest assured the Messiah is at hand. The return of the Messiah is at hand. Don't slack. Don't slack. Get ready now. It is, as Paul said, high time to get ready to serve Abba Yahweh. Don't wait until time has passed. Get up early and get ready. If you got to be at work at 9, who wakes up at 9? You wake up at 7 and say, I got to shower, I got to brush my teeth, I got to make breakfast, and I got to commute. I got to get ready. And I got to be there at 8:45. That's right. So I wake up at 7 so I can shower, get ready, get dressed, eat breakfast, walk my dog, do whatever I need to do so I can come and be there at 8:50. So I'm not missing work. If you wake up at 9 o'clock, it's over with. You do that a second time, don't come back here, all right?
Yeah,
Go find you a new job. Maybe you need to find a work from home situation, all right? Get ready now. Get ready before time. Wisdom of Solomon 18, verse 20, priest.
Yea, the tasting of death touched the righteous also, and there was a destruction of the multitude in the wilderness. But the wrath endureth not long. For then the blameless man made haste and stood forth to defend them, and bringing the shield of his proper ministry, even prayer, and the propitiation of incense, set himself against the wrath, and so brought the calamity to an end, declaring that he was thy servant.
So the blameless man, Moses, made haste, defending the people, brought forth oblations and incense to bring forth the end of the wrath upon Israel. Let's read on.
And so he overcame the destroyer, not with strength of body nor force of arms, but with the word subdued him that punished, alleging the oath and covenants made with the fathers.
So the covenant was made with Moses. Some people look at when Paul said the first covenant, say this is the first covenant. He said there were covenants made with the fathers, alleging Jacob's covenant, Isaac's, Abraham's, Noah's, and even Adam's covenant. Read on.
For when the dead were now fallen down by heaps, one upon another, standing between, he stayed the wrath and parted the way to the living. For in the long garment was the whole world.
In the long garment of the priesthood was the whole world. And we already showed in Revelations, all the nations would come to this temple. And the temple's foundation was that sardis stone, that jasper, that aseneth, whatever it was. It was the priestly garments. The priesthood was the foundation of the entire world. And all the people sought salvation through it. In that long garment was the welfare and the salvation and the blessing to the entire earth. Read on.
And in the 4 rows of the stones was the glory of the Heavenly Father graven.
Or was the fathers, their forefathers, graven. Them being the foundation to the temple of Abba Yahweh in the 4 rows of the stones that we showed earlier in this priest garment. Read on.
and the majesty upon the diadem of his head.
And the majesty of Abba Yahweh, holiness to Abba Yahweh, or Kodash Yahweh, was engraved upon the diadem, the crown upon Moses' head. This was the benefit, the blessing to the entire world. When the priests were girded up with that golden girdle, had the ephod with the 4 rows of the stones upon them, and the crown engraved upon them, and the robe of blue down to the foot. This is what brought forth salvation and righteousness upon the entire earth. And what else did it do?
And unto these, and thy majesty upon the diadem of his head, and unto these the destroyer gave place.
And unto these the destroyer, Satan, gave place. And what else?
And was afraid of them.
This is the boogeyman to Satan. This is Satan's boogeyman. You remember as a little kid, you were like, can you check to see if there's monsters under the bed? I don't want to see a red monster with horns coming from his head. And they're checking and say, no monster. This is a real life monster, Satan. A priest wearing the golden girdle, the robe down to the foot, the ephod with the 4 rows of the stones, and the glory of the Father's graven, the foundation of Abba's temple, the majesty of the diadem upon his head. This is Satan's boogeyman. As we know, this is the fall of Satan. This is what causes him to fall from his perch in heaven. It is the priests getting together in league with Abba Yahweh, with his word, the Messiah, the Prince, and his pantheon of angels to offer oblations and sacrifice. This stops Satan's kingdom in its tracks. Stand up. Get involved in this priesthood. Get ready to bring forth an end to sin. When you see brothers standing up, becoming priests, offering spiritual sacrifices, wearing the garments and bringing forth the brazen altar, the baptism of many waters, the fire of the altar, you know the end is nigh and the return of the Messiah is at hand. Get ready, get prepared. Get with the priests and support us as we fight the good fight and bring forth our war garments. We don't wear army fatigues. We wear the ephod, the crown of glory, the robe down to the foot to fight against Satan and the spirits of sin and bring forth an end of this world at the beginning of the next. So with that, we'll go ahead and close down the class, talking about the Messiah and his apparel and his garment down to the foot. Let us all be prepared for the return of the Messiah. We'll open the floor for Q&A. If there's anybody in the audience who has any questions about what we just went through today, anybody have any questions? And if not, we'll go to those online.
Your power.
All praise the Most High.
You know, and I see something in that before anybody get to asking any questions. You know, for those that are carnal, they're still going off of the carnal. They're taking the same scripture we read and using it for carnality when really it's all about the spirit. We have to now get out of that carnal mindset and enter into that spiritual mindset. You're not going to be able to make it any other way. This is pure power, man. And again, I have to say it, and I would be remiss not to, that this is not coming from anywhere but the house of wisdom. I mean, it is what it is. This is pure power. And for you not to be able to recognize that and then come in and find out more, it's a tragedy. But I think the Most High that, you know, me and these men that are here, the priesthood, the congregation, those that are part of the seventh covenant, I give thanks to the Most High that we are here. Thank you, Abba.
All praise the Most High. As you mentioned, this is the truth. Not because I believe it. It makes sense. It lines up. Everybody else is trying to fill up a bucket with holes in it, thinking it's going to hold water. It doesn't. Just give any little scrutiny to it, and it just doesn't make sense. Oh, so Titus was an Israelite. He was just in a Gentile state of mind. So how come after he converted, Paul still calling him a Gentile? Your argument don't hold water. Oh, Revelation 1 is talking about the Messiah is black. So what about this brazen altar? Go reference that in Scripture. You always talk about precept upon precept. Show me some brass in the altar. Show them me seeing somebody else who was black, who they said, you look like brass. No, but we see a brazen altar burnt with fire. We see a priest's garment. We see the voice of waters being the baptism. This is what we see. It makes all the sense of the world, and it is a bulletproof argument. that came straight from the Spirit, the Urim, so that we can come and perfect it upon the earth. We got a question in the audience? Make sure you turn the mic on, too.
Shalom.
Shalom.
So my question is, going back to Jasher 7 and 23, where are the garments of Nimrod from their heritage from Cush?
They weren't preserved. So that's why you see Moses making new garments. Why wouldn't he just say, hey, put this garment on that I found? Moses had to make new garments. He had to make everything over again. So it's not preserved for us to take on, you know. So like I said, they didn't pass from, and obviously Nimrod and Abraham, they were at odds. Nimrod's not going to pass that. Here's my garment, Abraham. So Abraham was the one who brought forth that priesthood. So it wasn't preserved after Nimrod. All right. Inquisitive questions. Anybody else have any questions in the audience?
Come on up. Yeah, make sure that mic is on for her.
Shalom.
Shalom, sis.
In 1 Corinthians 11, 5 and 6, you talked about the head.
Okay.
But also, just talked about the shaving part. Can you explain that? Shaving?
Okay, yeah. So when it talks about shaving, right, it's the in the ancient days, a woman would grow her hair, and that was a sign of glory and honor. It was a similitude of her head being covered under her husband or under her father or whichever house she was in. Now, if a woman had her head shaved, it was a sign of rebellion. It was a sign of being stiff-necked. I believe Moses had a punishment in there. If she was, if a woman had done something, he would shave her head. It was a sign of disgrace. So he's saying if a woman wants to go outside of her covering, it should be like a shame to her. So now today, that's not a sign of shame. It's a sign of pride and respect and honor. Women shaving the hell of the time. Women talking about the big chop. That's not what our culture was. But let's take it should be like anything else that was a shame today. What's shameful for a woman? I don't even know. Women got no shame today.
Shameless.
Yeah, shameless. There's nothing I can even compare it to. But think of something that was a major shame. Imagine, I don't know, you giving a speech and somebody throws a banana pie in your face. That's a shame. That's embarrassing. That's what it should be when a woman is going outside of her covering. It should be an embarrassment. It should be a shame. Yeah. And same thing with us. If we go outside the Messiah, it should be a shame. You should be embarrassed for doing that. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I was going to say, like when Oprah was on stage and she fell in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. That's embarrassing. Yeah. That's a shame. That's what it should be like. So that's what it's talking about when let her be shaven. So let her be embarrassed to go outside of her covering. Let her be shameful going outside of her covering is what it's talking about. Outside of her covering. Good question. Any other questions in the audience? Either no questions in the audience, we'll continue on to those online.
Let's see. We have a question online from Frazel Yashra'Allah. She says, Shalom, priest.
Shalom.
All praises be to Abba for this class. Pure power indeed, like Priest Gabaria said. My question is, the rainbow around Abba's throne is the priesthood, correct?
No. It's not the priesthood. It's the embodiment of Abba's covenant. It's the embodiment of everything that goes on in Abba's covenant. We actually are working on a class on that, actually. One of the priests is. So we're not going to go too deep into it in and of itself, but it's everything related to the covenant. So the priests are one facet of it. They are the ministers of the covenant, but it is everything that is embodied within the covenant of David or of Abba Yahweh. Everything regarding sacrifice and oblations and worship, that's what the rainbow represents.
All right.
No, I want to add something on what the sister added about Corinthians 11. Let me get one of the priests, get Deuteronomy 21:11. To add on what Priest Yaredon was talking about when it was talking about if a woman be not covered, let her head be as if it was shorn. Obviously, it was a shame. It was an embarrassment. But he actually have a Levitical connection to it as well. Let's read that.
And seeth among the captives of beautiful women.
So when the Israelites went to war and they saw a woman who was beautiful of the people that they had already conquered, let's read.
And has a desire unto her.
And so he nabbed her up. Let's read.
That thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails.
It's a mistranslation in terms of wife. This word is ish. And they translate it as wife. It simply means woman. It can mean wife, but it's not talking about wife. She had no inheritance. Wife simply means they take the inheritance. So this is what the Bible would call, she was a servant, a concubine. He would shave off her head, her hair. And so Paul is reverting back saying, you don't want to be under a covering? You never want to be a wife? Then you're a slave. Shave your head and just be a slave, a concubine, a woman with no inheritance. So these were Hebrews who he was talking to. So they knew exactly what he was addressing to them. All right. As Yaredon was saying, it wasn't talking about just long hair. It was like literally be a slave, a servant, a concubine, and therefore let Satan be your master in general. So that's what he's talking about, shaving your hair. And it's the same thing when he talks to men about shaving beards and all of that. It's not literally talking about you can't shave your beard. We talked about that before. It's talking about don't shave your beard to look like these Egyptians. Don't look like King Tut. Don't shave off the sides and have a fake goatee right here. We looked at things through a Hebrew prism, and we looked at it deeper than we do when we look at it with these Western eyes. So here, generally talking about be a servant to sin and not under your head.
That's another point. I was just actually going over this in the translation. So it goes on to say, actually, can you read that next verse?
The 12th verse.
Finish up the 12th verse.
Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month.
All right, so it goes on to talk about how, as Chief Priest said, she became like a servant. You can actually release her. She's not pleasing you, all right, go ahead and get out of here. You can't do that with your wife. But if you look at it in the Hebrew, what it says in that 13th verse, it says she shall bewail Ab, father. Mother. They translate that as and. But it's saying mother. So she shall leave the covenant of her father and mother. Remember, she was a Gentile. She's going to leave. If she was a Moabite, leave that covenant. Can't be in my house and you still bowing down to Molech. Can't do that. You better leave that. You belong to me now. And it says a full month, right? The word wasn't Kodesh. It was Yariach. They actually used Yariach right here. Now we see another use of the moon. And it says Yarach Yom. So for a full lunar cycle, she shall do this. This is actually a use of the moon. So for this whole cycle of the moon, she shall essentially be purified of her father's covenant, of her mother's covenant, whatever covenant she was in old times, and then be with that man. And then, like I said, he can release her if he really wants to, but we see the moon and we see covenant in here, and it's just not translated. Once again, trickery. They translate this as month. Why not? Why didn't it say Kodesh? They want to say that's month? Nah, it is the lunar cycle in this specific case. We don't count time with it, but for this case, she used the moon. All right, any other questions online?
Yes, next question is from Eloy Baca. Shalom, great class.
Oh, praise the Shalom.
How would today's class relate to Matthew 22:11? Thank you.
All right, Matthew chapter 22, verse 11. We can pick it up there.
Matthew chapter 22, verse 11.
Actually, well, yeah, go ahead and read that, 11th verse.
And when the king came in to see the guest, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless.
All right, so now a man came to the wedding without a wedding garment. Now, read the first verse of this, AP Yehezekiel.
And Yahushua answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said,
All right, so this is a parable, right? This is a parable, so he's not talking about physical garments at this point. Although we need the garments to bring forth the ministry of Abba. Read on in the second verse.
The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son.
All right, so this is the marriage, referring to the marriage of the Lamb. Now jump back down to the 12th verse.
And he said unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless.
So he invited all types of people from the highways and the byways, and everybody came, and they prepared themselves. They took off their worldly garments and put on the new garments, the clean garments. Then this is not specifically talking about the priest garment, although that goes hand in hand with what they're doing. It's not talking about that. It's talking about they took off mortality and put on immortality. They took off the old man and put on the new. And you need the priest to do that, to remove yourself of sin. Now, if you got spots on you, if you got sin in you and you come to the feast, it's like you got mustard stains and ketchup stains. You've been eating a hot dog and all dripping on, the oil's dripping on your garment, and you come to the feast all dirty. That's what it's like. You say, man, you just came in your farmer's garment? This ain't a wedding. You got dirt and crap all on you. You got manure on your shoes. And you want to come here? What was the punishment?
Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
So he's saying clean yourself up first. So it relates more so, not so much to this specific class about the garments, but about this whole series that we're talking about, the return of the Messiah. Get yourself ready. Don't be the 5 foolish virgins that did not put oil in the lamps, did not wash themselves up, not clean themselves. Get yourself ready. Take off this old man and put on the new. Don't be who you were in the world. Don't be Fred Jefferson V. You need to be Brother Malak, Judah, whatever your name is, and bring forth the oblations and the worship to Abba and clean yourself of sin. That's what you need to do. This is what it's referring to. So it refers more so this whole series than just this class specifically about the garments. But I see where the connection was.
I want to add to the previous question that was stated out there, how you brought out that she should mourn the covenant of her mother and the covenant of her father for one lunar cycle. And the reason for that is that a lunar cycle controls a woman's cycle. Now, obviously, this captive wasn't a virgin. And so why did they have to wait one full lunar cycle? To make sure she wasn't pregnant and bringing forth somebody else's seed and your seed. So obviously, if a woman had a cycle, she wasn't pregnant. So once again, going back to the lunar cycle, how it has this effect on your body, your consciousness, your mind, but not time. Great point.
Absolutely. All praises. They said these brothers were smart. They knew what they were doing.
Some more meat on that bone.
Absolutely.
All praises.
All right, yeah, that'd be good, because if you were, you were the king of Judah, and, you took her, and, she was pregnant with somebody from Midian, and you didn't know, and you raised it up like that was yours.
We having a baby.
Yeah.
Got a Midianite on the throne.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
He just light-skinned it.
Let's read on the next question.
All right, next question is from Frederick Miller, a.k.a. Fredro. I would like to know the meaning and reasoning of the casting of lots for Christ's garments after his crucifixion, knowing that the lots are the hours we pray and perform oblation in.
Well, on that, a good question. On that, they, they translate lot, differently sometimes. So when they cast lots, it was talking about they were trying to get their portion in this case. These Roman centurions weren't going into the lots, giving up oblations, trying to take on his garment. They're doing what they were trying to do with what Nimrod did. Let me get that garment. Let me steal and hide that garment and take that upon me. Oh, you're the king of Judah. I want that kingly garment. I want that priest garment. Let me get that. So they were trying to take that power and usurp it from him. But thankfully, who was Joseph or Arimathea came and said, let me bury him real quick. Let me put him in the tomb with this garment on. So you had a bunch of people trying to stop the covenant. We talked about, chief priest went through it, how they brought the gall and the vinegar and said, hey, you just want it out? Go ahead, take this, sip on this poison and die. He had to spit that out. This ain't acceptable. Everybody was trying to stop the power. Satan was coming through even at the crucifixion. Let me stop this, because I know what this is. Let me stop this. Let me enter into this man's mind. Oh, he's calling for Elias. Let me go and kill him real quick. Oh, let me take his garment from him. So Satan at all this time was trying to bring forth the destruction of the covenant. Try to take that power away from them. Try to do what he had Nimrod do and take that power from Shem. So that's what was going on with that casting lots. It wasn't talking about, once again, these Roman centuries going into the lots. In this case, it's a bad translation. You know, they're talking about trying to get their portion out of this. They were trying to fleece him for whatever they could.
All right.
Yeah, we can go to the next question.
Next question is from Frizel Yashra'Allah. My other question, if I may, please. All of the covenants from Adam to King David are actually temples. And that was a question. And likewise, the same from the 7 heads that held Israel in captivity, but evil temples instead.
I don't quite agree with what the sister's saying. They're temples. Now, they all minister within a temple. So in a covenant, you must go into a temple and minister. So each covenant is not a temple or whatever. It is an agreement. That's what it is. It's an agreement to come into my temple. Remember, Aaron embodied the temple and the priestly garments, and it said Urim, Thummim, Aaron, or Aaron, So all of them had to be in covenant. They had to be in agreement within the temple. And being in agreement, you can come to Abba's temple and offer him sacrifices. So there's one temple. You know, there's not several different temples. There's not evil temples. There's one temple, one true temple. And all these people throughout the covenant saw the same temple. Enoch, when we read it in the book of Enoch, he went up and saw the temple and saw Abba's throne. It was one temple. And then Moses came on the scene and saw the temple and built a rendition of it. And then David saw the temple and gave it to Solomon to build it. And then once it was destroyed, Ezekiel came back and saw the same temple. It's all one temple. But you must be in covenant with Abba to come and bring and see the temple and reiterate and bring it upon the earth. So, that wouldn't be an accurate statement.
All right. Our next question is from LC. Shalom, priest.
Shalom.
Can you please go over and explain script? Let me read this again. Can you please go over explanation of scripture in 1 Corinthians 11:15? Also, is it correct if the woman is not married, she is covered by Abba?
Okay. Yeah, let's go to it. We'll read 1 Corinthians 11:15. This goes right into what Chief Priest just brought out. All right, let's read it again. Go ahead, AP Hezekiel.
But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given her for a covering.
So we just covered this in Deuteronomy 21. If you take a servant woman from another nation, if you go to war with them, you shall shave her head. She shall be shorn, and then she shall be unto you, she shall be your woman. But for a righteous woman, to not be like Hagar, but to be like Sarah, you have your long hair. It shall be glory to you. It shall be a signet of your covering, of the man who is covering you. So this is what it's talking about. So long hair in our culture, or letting your hair grow out, was a sign of being in covering, submitting to your man, your husband, and receiving the power that came through him submitting to the Messiah who submits to Abba Yahweh. Now, no, I'll say no to your other question. Oh, if you don't have a man, no, you're not covered by Abba Yahweh. You can't break Paul's ordinances. You cannot go and break that. And how many Christians say that? I don't need no man. I got Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That is utter folly. You know, that's not the case. As we mentioned, we already spoke about it in the middle of the class. We talked about how a woman, if she was not covered by a man, she was covered by her father's house. And so we saw the same thing with David, or really with Jesse. Jesse had a daughter, and she went out and married an Ishmaelite. And now, all her days being married to him, she was in his house. Now, he died prematurely. And what did she do? Ran back to her father's house. I need a covering. And she ran back to Jesse, and Jesse brought her back in. And that grandson that she had, through that Ishmaelite, Jesse counted him as his own son. He said, that's my son right there. You're under my covering. And your grandson, he's going to be just like my son. He was under the father. Now, what happens if she has no husband or father? She's still under a man. Paul talked about a widow, an older woman. She's 60 years old. Now, if you're 60, more than likely your father's already passed. And if you're a widow and your father has passed, he said, bring her into the church. Bring her to these priests and let her dwell with them all her days, be under that covering. Because she can't just be out here wilding, doing whatever she wants. You got some old, foolish women. I'm sure y'all see them in the Christian church, arguing and bickering about who got the biggest hat. And we don't do that. Let her come into the church, into the temple, and be dedicated to that. Like Judith. Her husband died. She was fasting and she was mourning. She was with the priesthood every feast under their covering. This is what would happen. Now, we got rebellious women thinking, once again, they're not married. They're not going to go back to their fathers. They got nothing. I go straight to Jesus. But Jesus ain't hearing you. This ain't his ordinance. Paul said, be ye followers of me, even as I am followers of Christ. Imagine if Paul said, Christ ain't here. I'm just going straight to Abba Yahweh. Abba Yahweh would be like, man, get from my throne before I bring some fire on you. Go to the Messiah first. Matter of fact, go through his Elohim. Go to Gabriel. Don't talk directly to the Messiah. Go to Gabriel. Matter of fact, don't go to Gabriel. Go to his cherubims that he's over. Go to them. They'll bring your word up to Gabriel, and Gabriel will bring up to the Messiah. Messiah will bring up to Abba Yahweh. Don't you go outside of that order. It's the same thing with us. And this isn't just some harsh punishment we put on women. This goes to us too. Who of us try to break rank and break order? It is a dismal situation to do that. It puts everything in disarray. Even amongst the priesthood, there is order. And you can't just be breaking rank and going, I'm going straight to the chief priest myself. Nah, come to his priest and go under that priest. He'll bring it up to the priest over him, to his captain. That captain will bring it up to the top priest. That top priest will bring it up to the leaders. There's an order even amongst that. And even the leader of the priesthood doesn't go straight up to the Heavenly Father. He goes up to the angels, to the Elohim. They bring that up for him, up that chain of command. So, no, you don't. God is not your covering. Jesus is not your covering, in short. A man will always be the head of a woman as the ordinances of Abba. Not because we want it to be so, but because Abba wanted it to be so. Whether it be your husband, whether it be your father, whether it be the priesthood. That is the order of which the covering shall be. And thankfully, Abba has put the spirit on us where there shall always be a priesthood, Abba willing. You may not always have a husband, you may not always have a father, but there's always some priests you can come and run to. All right. Hopefully that answers the sister's question. It may not be the answer you wanted, but it's an answer.
Con. All right. Next question is from A.P. Yasiala, also known as Daweed.
Shalom.
I asked a question yesterday right before class went off that didn't get answered because it was late in reference to Fred's question yesterday. But is Christ now in the stead of where Adam was supposed to be before his fall? Knowing that Christ is the high priest or middleman to us, was Adam supposed to be that for the primal men on the earth? Or are these two different positions? If not, was he going to be one of the same ranking as the 7 archangels?
That's a good question. So, no, Christ isn't in the stead of Adam. Christ was already there. Christ was the firstborn. He had a greater position. But you're right. Adam had to replicate that position on earth. So you're right in the sense that he was a middleman between the earthly people and the heavenly people. He was a middleman between the church on earth and the church in heaven. So that's right on point. But no, Christ didn't take his position. He was supposed to be next to Christ. He was supposed to be working with Christ. And those two were supposed to work together, but he fell. And this is why, as we mentioned in the classes before in the series about this, that Christ was the only one who could come and make atonement for Adam's transgression, because he transgressed in heaven. You needed somebody heavenly and divine to come and make atonement for. Moses' covenant could only atone for the physical things that you have done in transgressing the covenant. But you had somebody who was divine and angelic come down and make atonement for what Adam did. So no, Adam wasn't in the place of Christ. He reigned with Christ. Just like the Messiah said, he shall make us essentially like Adam again, and we shall reign with him 1,000 years. So this is the position that Adam had. He wasn't in the stead of Christ. He was with Christ.
Con, to add on to that, if you will, the Messiah, Yahushua, Malak Zadok, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, he is the head over what the world calls the Elohim, or we who bring back to Paleo, the Elohim. And that simply means that Godhead Federation, all of the angels, the archangels that we covered in Angels and Demons, he's over the incalculable multitude of angels. When the Heavenly Father said, let there be earth or grass or whatever, he spoke, and his angels went and created. He hasn't devolved from that position. Now, who stands in the stead of Adam today? They may not believe it, but we who are in the 7th covenant, we are the ones that are administering the exact same thing that Adam was administering. It just haven't manifested. It hasn't come to full fruition. But the nations will come. The Ethreats, the primal people will come and get the oblations that the Heavenly Father ordained in Adam. And when the 7th millennium turns around in this regeneration, it will be exactly how Adam was to do it in the beginning, offering those oblations on behalf of the entire world as those who have been into immortality with manna from heaven. That's the gist of it.
Yeah. You know, just hearing the priests speak, it just shows the love that Yahushua had for his fellow brethren. Because Adam fell and he went to go retrieve him, to bring him back. You know, and that just to hear that in the speech and all of that, that's what came to my head. And there's no greater love that he came back for his brethren who was deceived, to bring him back by his side to do this work. You know, that's very powerful for me.
Con, absolutely. Absolutely. All praise the Most High for the love that he bestowed upon us by giving forth the firstborn son to come and consecrate this covenant for us so we can come back to Abba Yahweh. Now, imagine you take this love and you say, man, I don't need that. That's trash. Cross, that's whack. What's going to happen to you? Hebrews 10:27. He who despised Moses' covenant was punished. How much sorer punishment suppose ye who counts the blood of the covenant of none effect and does despite to the spirit of grace? That was some great love. You give a homeless man keys to a Bentley in a mansion. And he says, this is trash. Where's my Lamborghini? Ah, man. I got nothing for you. Matter of fact, I'm about to hem you up and bring, matter of fact, I'm going to do some vigilante justice right here. I'm going to leave you under a bridge. That's how upset I am with you. Let's not be those hard-headed, stiff-necked ones. This is some great love. Let's take it earnestly with respect and honor and reverence to the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and be submissive to him and partake in this royal priesthood and the saints who will offer sacrifice and oblation in this new and living covenant. That was the last question.
Con Priest, that was the last question online.
Con, all praises. With that, we'll go ahead and close on the class. Remember, brethren, the return of the Messiah is at hand. When you see the priesthood bringing forth the brazen altar in spirit and the fire upon it and the garment of the Messiah, and the voice of many waters, the baptism, you know the end is nigh. You know that the Messiah is coming back. That temple that is his body is coming back. Be prepared. Be ready. Don't try to get ready when it happens. Be ready now, so that when it happens, you'll be one of those faithful servants in whom he is well pleased. Peace and blessing be multiplied amongst all the saints. Shalom.
Shalom.